Hey everyone, so in the last lesson we learned about solving linear equations, which means get the variable by itself, and we knew it was an equation because it had an equal sign separating two different expressions. But today we're going to be working on solving linear inequalities. These can be solved the same as normal equations unless you're dealing with multiplying by a negative. So it's a negative number on both sides. This only applies if you're multiplying or dividing a negative number on both sides. You might remember from Algebra 1, in that case, you have to flip the sign. So for example, less than flips to greater than, or you could say, for example, greater than or equal to flips to less than or equal to. So notice the equal part isn't affected, just like if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative and an equal sign, you don't do anything to the equal sign. So same thing here, you don't do anything to whether it has an equal sign or not. All you do is you flip the inequality. Let's take example 1 as a problem to do together. So it says solve y minus 6 is less than 3 and graph the solution set on a number line. In this case, when it says solve, it still means the same as what we learned yesterday. Get the variable by itself. So you'll want to do the same thing, find the symbol that breaks up the two sides. This time it's not an equal sign, it's a less than sign. But we see on the left side of that less than sign, you have the variable and the minus 6. But you just want the variable by itself. So just like yesterday, we said we could add 6 over to the other side so that we get y plus 0, but we know adding 0 to anything, you just get itself, y, and then you bring down your sign, less than, and then you combine 3 plus 6 to get 9. Now that the variable is by itself, that's your final answer, and you'll graph this on a number line by putting a few numbers on here. Let's go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then keep in mind, if it is a less than sign or a greater than sign, you're going to be using an open circle. Whereas if it says or equal to, that's when you use a closed circle. What this is saying is the numbers are less than 9. Because y is just a variable, it represents any of the numbers. So if we're trying to highlight the numbers that are less than 9, you ask yourself, are 7 and 8 less than 9? Or are 9 and 10, or 10 and 11 less than 9? The answer is 7 and 8 are less than 9, so you're going to highlight to the left of the 9. As a trick, anytime you have the variable coming first, the arrow could tell you which direction to shade. You're shading to the left of the 9. That only will work if you have the variable coming first, though. Now, if you want to try this practice on your own, here are the correct answers for those. Feel free to pause the video if you want to. And then we'll do another example together. This time we have to use multiplying or dividing because we have 4.2 multiplied by x. Since it's a negative, we're going to divide out negative 4.2, and since it's a negative, we have to remember to flip the sign. Anytime you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, you have to remember to flip the sign. Even I forget this if I don't circle the sign right away. So I might recommend circle that sign right away as soon as you divide both sides by a negative. So we're going to go x is greater than or equal to because we're flipping it. And then we're going to divide negative 29.4 divided by negative 4.2. A negative over a negative makes a positive. And then when you divide it, you get 7. So we get x is greater than or equal to 7. So just so you get an example with a closed circle, since we haven't seen that yet, if we wanted to put this on a number line, you could go 5, 6, 7, 8, then we'd do a closed circle on the 7 instead of an open circle. And since it's saying the numbers are greater than or equal to 7, we're going to shade to the right of the 7 because that's where the numbers are greater than 7. But you can also have the number to be equal to 7, so that's why we use the closed circle to represent. You can use 7, and it will still make the inequality true. Okay, you can have one to try if you'd like. There's the correct answer for that. And now we're going to do a problem that requires more than just one step, because all these that we've done so far have just been simple one-step problems. Now let's try one that has multiple steps. So first thing I notice is that there's a variable on both sides, and I also notice that fraction. In order to get rid of that fraction, which hopefully you would want to do first, you're going to multiply by whatever the denominator is. Since it's a 6, let's multiply by 6 on both sides. Because multiplying by 6 and dividing by 6, that cancels out. Those are inverse operations. So the biggest mistake that I see is people want to also distribute the 6, but remember it's canceled out with the divided by 6. So you're not distributing it, it's just gone. So on the right side we have 5c plus 58. On the left side we have negative 24c. Now we can subtract 5c from both sides. You get negative 29c is less than or equal to 58. Then you can divide both sides by negative 29, and since we're dividing by a negative, we're going to flip the sign. So we'll go c is greater than or equal to negative 2. Now that the variable is by itself, you know you have the answer. You could always check this answer by, for example, you plug in the negative 2 for the c and see if it makes the inequality true. So for example, to check it, let's take our original inequality. It was negative 4c is less than or equal to 5c plus 58 over 6. But we're going to plug back in the negative 2. So we're going to go negative 2 for c here, negative 2 for c here. Negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. And now we need to simplify the right side. First, take 5 times negative 2, which is negative 10. Then add your 58. Negative 10 plus 58 would be 48. Then you can finally do 48 divided by 6. You get 8. Now check, is that a true statement? Is 8 less than or equal to 8? Yes, that's true. So we know that we got it right. And then you can also check a number that is greater than negative 2. So think of what's a number greater than negative 2. You could go with 0. 0 is probably the easiest number to plug in. So let's replace all the c's with a 0 now. So 4 times 0, 0, anything times 0, 0. So that's why it's really easy to plug it in. We end up with 0 is less than or equal to 58 over 6. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but I know it's definitely a positive. So I know this is definitely true. It's saying 0 is less than or equal to a positive number. That's definitely true. I don't even need to actually calculate that out or reduce it or anything because I'm just trying to figure out if it's true or not. So I know that I definitely got the symbol right also. It is correct to say greater than or equal to in the final answer. All right, now you can try this next one on your own and pause the video if you want to check your answer. And then we're going to do this word problem. This time we have to write and solve the inequality. And since this is our first word problem that we're dealing with, we're going to review a method called Guess A Plus method, which can really help you when you're approaching a word problem so that you don't get overwhelmed with everything coming at you. So let's go over what does this stand for. It's an acronym, Guess A Plus. G stands for given. So what you're going to do is highlight all the important info out of that whole word problem, everything given. U stands for unknown. You want to define your variable or variables based on what you want to find. So a tip for that is look for the question mark. Whatever they're asking you for, is most likely what the variable is. E stands for equation, so you write the equation based on the given information, so the whole word problem, or any formulas that you know that have to do with this. So if it's like talking about area of a triangle, you should know the formula for area of a triangle, so that would be an important equation that you could use. The first S stands for substitute. So, for example, in those geometry types of problems, a lot of times they'll give you like one of the sides, or they'll give you the area. So you'll substitute any numbers that they gave you into your equation. Then you solve your equation for the unknown. So you're trying to solve for the variable or get the variable by itself. The A stands for answer. That means write your sentence to answer the question. A lot of times you could just restate the unknown where you define the variables. So that's also something that's helpful about writing down your variable, is that when you get to the sentence, it's really easy to know what you should be writing. Finally, the plus stands for add units. Don't forget to put that in as part of your answer, like feet, seconds, miles, whatever. Those are all examples of units. So let's try out this method together. First, read the problem. I'm going to grab my highlighter so I can highlight anything that's important as I go. It says Enrique's company pays Salem to advertise on Salem's website. Salem's website earns $15 per month plus 5 cents every time a visitor clicks on the advertisement. What is the least number of clicks per month that Salem needs in order to earn at least $50 per month? So what I would suggest is read it all the way through once, then go highlight the given. I know that this part is important. They earn $15 per month plus 5 cents for every click. Then I also know that the part about with the question mark, what is the least number of clicks per month? That's going to give me my variable. So for you, unknown, the variable or what's changing, what they're asking us to find, is the number of clicks. So I'm going to define the variable means tell me what X stands for. Like, what does X mean? X means the number of clicks. Then I'm going to go back to my given because I do have a little bit more given to me here. It says in order to earn at least $50 per month. Next, I'll write my equation. So go back to the given, what was highlighted, and write the equation. We did this in the first lesson of this chapter. It was $15 per month, but we're just talking about 1 month, so we're just going to put 15 plus, so we'll add 5 cents, 0.05, every time they click on the advertisement. We know that the number of clicks is the variable, so that's going to be 5 cents times X. Then, in order to make this an equation or an inequality, you have to put an equal sign or greater sign, less than sign, based on the rest of the given. It says they want to earn at least $50 in the month, so we'll make this greater than or equal to 50. Because if that amount that they earn is more than 50, that's at least $50. If it's equal to 50, that's at least $50. Okay, now we're ready to solve. We're going to subtract 15 on both sides. So we get 5 cents times X is less than or equal to 35. Then you'll divide both sides by 0.05. You're dividing by a positive, so you'll just keep your sign the same. And you get 700 as your answer. So now that X is by itself, you did that next step of solving. Now you're on the A, answer. So go back to the given, or the unknown information, the part that said X equals the number of clicks, this part where you define the variable. Take exactly what that is, and you basically just restate it with the number. So we're going to say he needs at least 700 clicks. Then the units on this we included something after the number. In this case, it's just a number of clicks. So we're good on adding units, which finalizes our answer. Okay, so that wraps up our lesson on solving inequalities. Next lesson, we're going to talk about finding a rate of change and more stuff with linear equations. But if you feel like you need more practice with this, we're going to do some practice problems with word problems like this example 4. So I have an entire page of practice problems for you ready to go. It's in your class calendar whenever you're ready to start it. Thanks you guys for paying attention, and I hope you guys have a great day. I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.